Welcome to At the Table with Tony. My name is Anthony Scillia, better known as Tony Mangia, and today is our 5th episode of the live stream edition of At the Table with Tony. And our topic is the coronavirus pandemic's impact on Italian importers. So tonight I'm being joined by three Italians from Italy, right? Well, Mike, were you born in Italy?
I was born here, raised in Italy. So yes.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So we have Francesco Lupo. He is a specialty foods educator and the owner of Fattoria Cremona and Arcadia Specialty Foods. We're also joined by Michael Fava, national sales manager of Di Cecco Pasta. And we also have Umberto Marino. He is the business development manager for Venchi Cioccolato.
Yeah.
So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedules on a Tuesday night. Was it Tuesday? Tuesday evening to come and talk.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what day it is.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's like March.
Sometime in March. Sometime in March.
Yeah, sometimes in March.
95 in March.
2020, it seems.
So, Francesco, I want you to start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from in Italy, and a little bit about your businesses.
So, I was born and raised in Palermo, Sicily. I came into this country about 36 years ago. I was actually came here to study, and I was working in a different industry, which is based music and entertainment. In 97, I changed my course of life, and I went to work for Dino De Luca. And from there, my whole passion for specialty foods in general, European and especially Italian product, came to the forefront. And it is a very true passion that I had for the longest time. I worked with Dino De Luca. I worked with some distributors. My current position right now is actually there's a little bit of separation in the two companies that we're talking about. Fattoria Cremona, I run the branch of a producers of Italian cheeses out of Cremona that produce Grana Padano, Caciocavallo. They do mostly Parmigiano Reggiano and all others, mascarpone. So basically iconic or Italian cheeses. On my other side, which is Arcadia Foods, I actually specialize as a purveyor to restaurants of Italian salumi, of Italian cheeses. I'm actually the foremost spokesman for the Prosciutto di Parma for the last 15 years. I do a lot of trainings throughout the country. And I think the other person in this is Mike Fava, that travels a little bit more than me. Yeah. And what day is today? I mean, I haven't been in my house in 3 weeks. I was like, so what is this? I was trying to accommodate and trying to find. I actually use hotel soaps in order to feel like I'm traveling.
I have to tell you one thing though, Francesco. I learned more about Prosciutto di Parma from you than I have probably in my 38 years of being on this earth. It was just a couple of months ago at the New York Pizza Festival
in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Avenue, which is
you taught me a lot that afternoon.
Well, we're having I'm doing a live demo tomorrow for a company in Washington, D.C. that bought a 40 bone-in prosciutto, which is pretty rare. I mean, that's insane because traditionally in the market, this is the insanity of this situation. It goes from things that were never sold or very slow movers became fast movers, inventory problems. So, but let me finish my intro and then we'll move forward and then we can discuss that. We could be talking. I don't want to manipulate the conversation. So, Arcadia Foods specializes in providing high-end restaurants with high-end prosciutto, salami, and cheeses, and some oils. So I can give you the perspective as a importer of specialty products and as a distributor to restaurants on this event.
Okay. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about your background and your role with Di Cecco.
Sure. So, kind of a bit like Francesco, I was born here, and as a child, as a 2-year-old.
Mike, we're losing you a little bit.
Mike, I guess Mike doesn't want to tell us his childhood.
Hey, you're like frozen, Mike.
I mean, now or no?
No, right, so try it again. Go ahead.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're not frozen anymore.
All
We're
right,
stuck. We're stuck in your childhood. So
Yeah, now I started to hear you guys kind of breaking up too. It's weird. So I don't know if it's on my end or on your end. Can you hear me now?
he says he says is on your hand. It says Mike Fava network is low.
So let me try to do something. You guys go on to Umberto. Let me try to do something. 1 second.
All right, go ahead. Okay, Umberto, you're up.
Okay, so I'm Umberto. I'm from Bolzano, South Tyrol, so north part of Italy, the most north part of Italy, a region where actually we do speak German. I grew up in a southern family. My mom, she's from Caserta. My father is from Naples. So I grew up in an environment where we used to speak dialects together with the German and Italian. So
You're Bourbon.
yeah, correct. And I grew up there in the middle of the Alps. I started my career over there working for a German company called Würth. Then I moved to Loacker, which is a company that produce wafer biscuits. And after that, I had the famous American dream. So I moved to the US 3 years ago. With my first job working for MRA, which is a company based in Norwalk, Connecticut, that represent different kind of specialty food brands from Italy, from Parmigiano cheese to cured meats to tomato sauce and pasta. And 2 years ago, I decided to start a new project with Venki Chocolate, basically to develop the market for the US market. We do have retail stores branded Venki, and we do also wholesale. So now I'm actually in charge for the wholesale development and to do all the activities related to the development of the customers. So from the training to the demos in stores and choose with the customer the assortment. And now we have 3 stores so far, 2 stores in New York and 1 Venki store down in Miami, in Florida. And we have, I will say, pretty good plan for the development of the retail and for wholesale as well.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So Mike, are you there?
I think I'm good now. Let's give it one more try. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
We hear you.
Yeah. So I was in a different part of my house. I had to connect to an extender. That was the problem. So let's give this one more run. So I was saying I'm kind of a little bit like Francesco. So I was actually born here, raised in Palermo. I went back. My parents took me back when I was about 2 years old. I stayed there until I was about 15, and the year 2000 I came back here as a teenager. Actually, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun coming back to a country that I didn't know. I left as a child and I came back as a teenager. I didn't really speak the language and didn't really know anyone. But my parents obviously thought there was a better life choice for us to come back in the country where I was born in, and it turned out it was a pretty good idea. So I kind of fell into the food business. Obviously I started high school here. I went to college here. And while I was in college and high school, I was working for probably one of the most iconic Italian deli in New York, inside the Arthur Avenue retail market, which is Mike's Deli of Arthur Avenue. So I worked there throughout my high school days. I worked there throughout college. And then, while I was in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I kind of loved the food business. So, David Greco's a dear friend of mine. So I said, hey, you know what? I want to be in this business. So I'd rather work for you full time than go ahead and do something that I'm not really interested in, or something that I really didn't want to do. At the time I was majoring in international business. It's funny how life turns around, because that's what I do now. But I worked for Dave for about 12 years. And then I kind of wanted to see other sides of the food business. I wanted to see what the distribution of how the business and distribution worked, and how the other side of the business was. So I went to work for Cisco. Cisco is the largest food service distributor in the world. I worked for them for 5 years as a sales associate. And then I did the last year and a half as an Italian market manager for them, kind of sourcing Italian foods, working with Italian companies, such as companies like Francesco's, and even companies like Umberto's, to try to source products to bring into distribution. Did that for a year and a half, and then I was lucky enough to find an opening with the people here at DiCecco, and now I do national account sales with DiCecco, which, like Francesco says, it keeps me very busy. So I'm grateful to actually be in a position and have a job right now that's actually still, has, growth and a business that's still moving. There's a lot of people in our industry, and I believe that's what we'll talk about tonight, that are not so lucky, and things are switching to different directions. So I'm glad we actually get to do this tonight and talk to, some of our peers and see how we could help, or how we could come out of this. So
that's a great segue into this whole. You're actually right. It's a great segue into the conversation, because I do want to talk about Italy, but I also want to talk about America too, because really the last few nights I had a couple of chefs on, and really the restaurant industry is hurting terribly. I think they said in New Jersey, within one day, 90% of the restaurant workers were laid off. Like, I mean,
I just read a stat, and we kind of want to keep it positive, and we will keep it positive, but call a spade a spade. Let's not hide the truth. As of the first 22 days of March, New York City has laid off about 70,000 people in the restaurant industry. That is a ridiculous number. They're talking 10 to 15% of those some of those businesses will never reopen again in New York City.
Well, I can give you a personal experience on that, because Arcadia Food provides my base is mostly restaurants. 90% of my base is restaurants. I was having from one of the best start of the year in 3 years, and I mean the week before March 11th, I was like, I was really in a good position, and then on Monday, March 11th, I lost 95% of my business. So, it went from X amount to no amount, it's like, but what's sad is that there was some good people out there that, made the right thing and just helped me with the bills that were owed me and stuff. And there's some others that, were not so positive. And you can even ask them for the money, because they're not going to be able to provide they're already making barely a living, now this is probably destroys them. I mean, they still have a rent to pay, nobody's stopping the rent. The landlords in New York, I mean, if you think about it, but my New York restaurants, the average rent is about $40,000-$50,000 a month. They lay off 95% of the employees. I mean, even the solution of what they call the to go and pick up doesn't work. It's like probably 5% of the total business that we're making before.
Yeah, but you're right, because not every cuisine or not every dish can be you can take to go. I mean, even like Neapolitan pizza to a certain extent does not travel well.
Listen, I live in Fairfield. I live in Connecticut, and I have Frank Pepe's Pizza. That's one of the things that you cannot reproduce. I mean, we picked it up in the past. We have had it delivered. Doesn't taste the same. Once you sit down, you enjoy. That's the way it is. There's a social aspect, the cultural aspect of sitting down and, be with friends. Strangely enough, is retailers, I've seen the numbers go up. You see like one of the ingredients that people won't think about it is pasta. If any supermarket you go, pasta, the shelves are bare. It's all sorts of pasta except for the farfalle and the elbows. I don't know why.
And toilet paper.
And toilet paper.
And toilet paper.
And penne lisce, correct. Penne lisce, they're always on the shelf.
Why? Actually, not to cut you off, Francesco, but why is that? Why is penne lisce always on the shelf?
I don't know. It's the things that people don't like.
Yeah,
Mike can answer that because
there's like mixed stories about this, and it was funny because somebody made a meme in Italy about when the corona first hit and the people first went in quarantine, and someone took a picture of a supermarket, and literally the only pasta line that was left on the shelf, everything was empty.
It was penne lisce.
It just turned out to be that it was the Cecco penne lisce.
It was the Cecco.
Everyone made
it was
a big deal about it.
No,
I
but
believe because
in the US, in the US is actually the farfalle, and it's the Barilla farfalle that stays on the shelf. I don't know why.
yeah, Perelice doesn't get the sauce,
The respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
get
get
the
the respect
respect.
it deserves.
Yeah, but going back is what the negativity of the fact is that the restaurant business in the tri-state area really is on their knees, and what's sad is that a lot of the politicians are not taking it seriously, because they really need support. They really need to be brought back up, because what's going to happen is when we're going to restart in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever it's going to be, if you don't have the basis, a lot of those people are never going to come back. I mean, I'm not political. I really not. I don't want to make a political statement. But what the president said, it was not very funny. When he said, "Oh, some restaurant will come back with different owners." I mean, you know what? It's the owner that sometimes makes the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the experience is there, and it's unfair to, especially I know a lot of people are bartenders, waiters, the kitchen stuff. I mean, some of those guys barely make ends meet, and nobody's going out there and fight for them. And that's one of the most negative aspects of this thing, because we're all going to make it. We're all going to survive, and we're going to look at this. And actually, we're all going to. I'm taking the time to look at different options. I was speaking to my distributor in Las Vegas. The guy went from, he says, from $150,000 at account to zero money, but he still has $100,000 a month in expenses. And his landlord called him the other day and told him, he says, you know what, don't be delinquent. Instead of saying, hey, what can we do to work? This guy just built a brand new warehouse, and so it's things that we need to support them somehow. I mean, there is some great alternatives out there. The National Restaurant Association has created some funds, everybody, but it's too little. And I think it's going to be too little too late. If we want to see, because right now who's taking advantage of this is the big chains. Fast food is to the roof. I mean, it's like, I've traveled around the tri-state area, and it bothers me that I see the fast food joints packed, and then you see the guy down the street that it's basically suffering. So we're wiping out that what makes New York special, what makes the tri-state, was the uniqueness of the cuisine. It could be from Indian to Japanese, whatever you want. But that is time. We can lose a lot of that.
It's in a way it can have an effect to kill the mom and pops.
Yes, it is.
And that's
the danger. And what made New York and Mike Fava and Umberto, since coming from Italy, realized I came here a little earlier than them, and I see the New York from the 80s, 90s, where there was, in every corner there was a diner, in every corner there was an Italian pizzeria. Everybody was Italian. The revival of Nino Conillo, that he recreated the New York style pizza now in the 2000s, when in New York was basically every corner. You don't see that anymore. Try to find a diner in New York City. That's becoming impossible. But you find 5,000 Starbucks, you find 10,000 Qdoba. So, but this year now is becoming an issue for the restaurants, because a lot of the Italian restaurants don't have the margins out that the people think have, and it's going to change the way restaurants are run in New York, and what kind of restaurants are going to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I have seen, like, I think it was in Philadelphia, they're trying to, I guess, drum together the support through like GoFundMe pages and stuff, just to help like you said, the bartenders and the wait staffs.
The thing is, the GoFundMe pages, they have them there in New York too, and everywhere in Los Angeles, because I have restaurants all over the country. So Los Angeles, basically the big markets, Miami, all the chefs are binding together and trying to support. Actually, I have to give a shout out to Jose Andres, because he's the only one that comes out and really is helping everybody out. He's feeding the people, the employees that are homeless. He's trying to coordinate a restaurant support group, which is coming along slowly, but it's coming along. But it needs something more than that. It needs a package. Some of that money needs to go, because don't forget, a lot of these people, like I said, they work on tips. You cannot there is no paper trail that tells you how much money they make. You know, it's like it's going to be tough for them to see and how to survive. I mean, most of the bartenders, the waitresses, and they barely live week to week. Actually, they have to make more shifts sometimes. So and that's one of the biggest problem is. But granted, I think we're going to make it because the Italians always been a strong force in the food and restaurant. I mean, we without us, I think everybody would be eating steak and potatoes, which is not bad, but but like I say, and on the other hand, is affecting what is their priority on ingredients. I mean, when the ingredients, truffles, caviar, prosciutto of 36 months, all that right now is out because, right now the retail business is what works. And you have beans, ceci beans in cans.
Cucina povera.
Cucina povera is actually going strong. I mean, nobody's going to buy $20 a pound salami right now. And that's my friend that sells a specialty salami that goes about $21 a pound. She's not selling it. But like my ingredients, the ones that are most expensive are going nowhere right now. Orders canceled. A lot of I'm actually cannot find space in public warehouses because they're not taking any more until the end of the quarantine.
Wow.
So it's creating a lot of logistic issues. We may see a lot of ingredients out there like pasta. I mean, no, the Checo I know is very well formed, but there's other brands that probably won't be around until this whole thing comes and goes. So I think we're going to see a revival, a lot of U.S. brands, Italian American brands like Progresso. And like you say, for the list, for the next 6 to 1 year, I see that the focus, especially on home cooking, is going to be on Cucina Povera. And then it's going to, which translates to top restaurants. Not everybody's going to go to the restaurants in the first couple of weeks.
Oh, no.
So it's funny that Francesco says that because I was talking to a friend of mine and, we were trying to figure out, say, hey, how can we help these 5-star restaurants because they have to pivot right now. You have to go from a sit down in restaurant business to at least try to turn into whether it's a pickup service or it's a delivery service, something that a 5-star restaurant has no clue how to do.
No clue to do it
because it's just not in their book. But what we were finding, and we did some research and looked at some stuff. If you look at companies like Papa John's right now, Papa John's went on a massive hiring spree.
Yes.
They can't find enough people to work because what's happening now, the Cucina Povera that we know in Italy is pasta, bread, ceci beans, fagioli. The Cucina Povera of the Americans is
fast food.
You're going to order fast food. You're going to order Papa John's. You're going to order Domino's. You get to feed a family for under $20.
Yeah.
And, and obviously we're talking America. So this is where the fine line is. When we talk America, we have to talk middle of America.
Yes.
Obviously, New York City is much different. New York City, so you're calling your local pizzeria.
Listen, you go to Wichita, Kansas, which I was there a couple of weeks ago. On a regular night, that's Sonic is one of the top restaurants to go to. These people are not going to go to Italian restaurants and spend $20, $30 per pasta, which a lot of those demographics we're getting. Right now and I think as Italian importers and as Italian specialty purveyors, we need to try to bond together and bring a strategy into the forefront. I mean, starting from trying to get the duties removed, in this period for a short period, trying to, be cohesive and not divisive like we have been in the past. Support our groups, support our people. And I think this is a good way of, I think this is the start of a movement where we can all bounce together and move forward with it. Because if we start talking about, it's natural that we're all very aggressive and we're trying to undermine everybody else, but we cannot do that anymore. We need to be a group and move forward as a group.
So I want to ask Umberto, since you obviously, I know all of your businesses are primarily based in Italy, but Umberto specifically, Venchi chocolate was invented in Italy. So it's how are you dealing with this whole pandemic? I guess both in Italy and also here in America.
Yeah, so I actually agree with Francesco because we are facing the same, I would say, logistic issues. Right now, for example, we are going towards the Easter, La Pascua, and it was a perfect timing for us because we just imported all the eggs and they were ready. They are still there, sitting in our warehouse in New Jersey. They were ready to go all over East Coast, West Coast. Some customer, fortunately, they decided to pick it up anyway to support each other. But of course, I have, as Francesco had, also some order that they have been canceled. And of course, you cannot ask to the customer, bring the eggs anyway, or you can push them. Because if you think about long-term partnership, now you prefer to give them a credit and just wait what is going to happen. But as Vanki, so we faced this situation first when started in China, because so for Vanki, the first market beside Italy is China. So we have about 30 stores, very impressive presence in the greater China area. And so we started to close temporarily the stores over there. So we had about 25, 30 stores closed for about a couple of weeks. All the employees home. So now over there, the situation is slowly going back to normal. So we are opening some stores again. And but of course, the food traffic is not the same, of course, because even though our product is a 100% natural product, is a very premium chocolate, but it's not that necessary right now for people. For some people, it is because they want to anyway get their sweet, treats right now. Here in the US is the same. So we closed temporarily the 3 stores, and so we are trying, of course, to support our employees of the stores. And but definitely also the wholesale business is slowing down. We have some restock order from some e-commerce customers right now. So we have, of course, to be resilient and to work on those channels that right now allow us to go ahead, and see what happens.
Now, I mean, this is kind of a crazy question, but I'm sure people wonder about this, and they probably ask themselves this: do you think people are going to be afraid to eat Italian, meaning food imported from Italy? Is it going to be? Is it going to have the virus on it? I mean,
look, I have to be honest. I had one customer that, of course, we are not going to mention, that asked me. He was supposed to pick up some product, and he asked me, "Do you know when did you receive this batch?" I said, "Look." Our production, actually, I want to say that our production just implemented last week a new machine for the pistachio production of the pistachio paste. We get the Sicilian Bronte pistachio for our chocolate and gelato recipe. So we just implemented a new machine. We are keeping, of course, all the very high standards of safety in our production process. But what we're gonna provide to our customer is a very clear communication that even in our production plant, we always keep a very high standard, not just standard of quality, but also standard of production of safety and cleaning. And
I think also sometimes the media likes to frighten people too, though. They like to work up panic and make people frantic because. Really, I mean, this virus isn't going to live on food or.
So, Tony, the key is this: there's a lot of misinformation there, and nobody's saying the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think anybody really knows deep down how long this thing lives here and there, and that's one of the things that perplexes me the most. Is like, you go to a restaurant where they're preparing the food to go. It's like there's 3 or 4 people touching your food before it reaches your house. I mean, if that is not safe, I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the head right now. I mean, why shut down restaurants if you're providing the same exposure as not? The thing is of ethnicity being connected to the virus, it varies. I mean, Italian food has been a pillar in this country since World War II, and prior to that, it started from New Orleans and all over the country. Is the number 1 ethnic cuisine in the country. There is the subdivision, which is called Italian American food too. So as purveyor of ingredients, I really am not that concerned. And that goes for cheeses that are made, especially Lattiera Cremona is actually in the epicenter. It's in Cremona, which is the hottest spot in the country. I mean, and I had customers. I didn't have a customer say to me, "Oh, what area it comes from?" It's because if you say that, I mean, everything is pasteurized. Everything is all the employees are sanitized. Everybody, there's implementations that were put into actions where employees' temperature gets taken at the door. Everybody has a mask on. I mean, the same thing I think Mike can vouch.
I just wanted to jump in because this is not just because of Corona. People need to understand that Italy probably has some of the strictest food laws that exist in the world. Italy doesn't just take these precautions today because there's coronavirus. The way Italy treats their food, and especially big manufacturers, the laws are extremely strict, much more strict than what we have here.
Yeah, and all the check and all the control that we face, like in terms of controlling our production, is always absolutely like that. So
I know there was a USDA program and a government program that went into effect, FVSPP, which is the stricter rules for the U.S. that every ingredient that comes into the country. Let's say if I bring you like a chocolate egg, they would need to know where the pistachio came from.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's been implemented in the last year. So they want to know the eggs where they came from. Just to make sure that product does not come from other countries. I mean, in the same point, and that what pisses me off the most is that then you have companies in the U.S. that bring in tilapia, which is the garbage of garbage. You bring shrimp that is being fed with God knows what. You have ingredients that don't get checked, and then you come and look at my production of 2,000-year-old prosciutto and trying to tell me that that's something wrong, or you come and look at the Cecco factory, trying to look if there's rat's ear into the pasta. I mean, so there's two different standards, and I mean in the metropolitan areas, I don't think there's going to be that much change toward the Italian or Italian sounding food But in the Midwest is all based on how the economy of those areas are. If a lot of people are going to lose their job, I mean, like Mike said, and I think Mike should jump in because Mike has a different, I have a vision of this business that's very different than what Mike has because Mike does a lot of the big retailers, the supermarkets in the Midwest, and I know he's gone all over the country and understands. I tried to sell prosciutto in Louisiana. To a chain that has 67 outlets, we can only sell to 10 of them because, in the middle of Baton Rouge, nobody's gonna buy prosciutto di Parma.
It's like Tasso ham, right? Tasso ham.
Tasso, yeah, they go for Tasso ham. Actually, I had one of the deli manager at training told me, "Oh, I catch my own alligators in the backyard." I was like, "Okay." But what I'm saying is, Mike can actually give you a vision of what's going to happen because. The Cecco, I think, and is one of the premier pasta in the country, but it's priced well, and I think in every market, and I think they have a better understanding what's going to go next on the retail side or in the kitchens of Americans more than restaurants.
So here's the thing. I handle mostly the food service side of things. I don't really deal with a lot of the retail. That's a different division that we have. And the one thing that I have to say is that the food service industry, just like yours, that part of the industry is hurting. It's hurting on our end. Yeah, for as much as the retail shelves look good that they're empty, but that's an empty dream.
Yeah. Because you're losing it somewhere else. It's losing it somewhere else.
So it's a tough time that we're all in. Francesco started saying this before. I think the way we got to start looking at this is, hey, how can we be proactive together as a community of Italians, of food people, of importers, of distributors? And the thing is that we have to help those customers. We have to help those restaurants survive. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Christian Petroni from Fortina,
yeah, Chris, I know Chris.
Westchester. He started a great program today. It's called Million Gallons. He's doing massive productions of soups and just delivering them all over Westchester, Connecticut to people in need. So that's something I'm working together with him. Maybe doing a little pastina, and we do whether it's a chicken soup or pasta fagioli or something, where we'll give it away because there's a lot of people out there that are gonna be in need. A lot of people out there that are going to need help.
And
So I
Mike,
think
and
that's
Mike,
the
and,
best
and
thing we
Tony,
can do.
and Tony, I think you can be like, the glue that can put all this together. I think, we should try to create a group that, like, we all have expertise, we all have products. One is to keep our customer alive and bring them forward and make them, give them a starting point that's not going to be minus 40, it has to be a good chance of making it. I mean, I can forgive some of my accounts, some of the billing. I'm gonna work with them on that because, like Mike said, you have to keep those long-term relationships and, giving out a 1 month worth of orders, in order to support them. Why not? As long as they maintain the loyalty that you deserve. And I never had any problems. Then, like he was telling me, there's chefs out there that are doing everything on their own to support, like, the guy from Fortina, which is not only is doing the soup event, but even as the pay it forward pizza. If you
Is that
want,
like
yeah,
like
like
cafe sospeso?
like Cafe Sospeso, Chris is actually from Ponza, the island Ponza, but that's the concept. But if you see actually in Italy, a lot of people are leaving bags of food out for people to take because there is a lot of people that cannot. The government is not doing much to help. They haven't worked, especially in the South. And, there's situations where people cannot feed themselves. So people are actually buying product. There's a lot of humanity going on in the South right now that people are not talking about. And, they always like to put on the forefront the negativity of the Sicilians or the Neapolitans or the criminality. But when things are done well and when things are done for the greater good, nothing comes out of, doesn't come up,
Yeah, have you guys noticed that in the areas that you deal with in Italy? I know you said that Cremona is hit badly, but like so Umberto, like where the chocolate comes from, is there a lot of cases there?
So in Piedmont, we have important amount of cases, but not really impacted as the Milan area and the Cremona area. So our employees, they are also going to work in the office, like by shift, some of them. So production is completely open, working normal shift. Offices, they are open, they go and they keep, of course, in the office the proper distance with the mask and the gloves and everything that they should wear. And so this is the situation right now there.
And Mike, where exactly is Di Cecco located in Italy?
So we're considered Central South, so it's in the Abruzzo region. So it's in the east coast of Italy. So kind of very isolated area, production facilities at the tip of a mountain. So we're not anywhere near any type of epicenter. So
How long have they been? How long has Di Cecco been around?
1893. So I've been around long, 130 years now. So. Wow. Yeah, so it's always been there. So it's in a really remote part of Italy. So it's it's not anywhere near any big city. The closest city, quote unquote, is Pescara, which is a town by the water, and that's a stretch calling it a city. It's probably the size of Palm Parkway up in the Bronx. Yeah, that's as far as we go. So everything is pretty safe there. So.
And how about with your? So I know you mentioned Cremona, Francesco, but what about the other areas? Like how is Parma and
most of my productions? I work with Grandi Salumi Fici Italiani, which basically they in Parma, Langhirano, which the DOP area. They're affected strongly, but still, they even in those the offices are not open and everybody works remotely, but the productions are run regularly. Because one of the government rules was that food companies can work. They deem essential. So there was a moment that we were afraid that they were going to shut down everything for 2 weeks, but thank God that has not happened. Because if that happens, we're done. Because that will mean that for the next 6-7 months. The production of the aging of the prosciutto will be delayed. Everything will be delayed.
You'll be playing catch up.
Oh, yeah, you will not be able. There'll be a shortage at that point. But what's those areas? Like I say, Italian food, food from Italy is extremely safe. It was safe before, is safe during is going to be safe after.
But is there like now is the food readily being imported into America?
Yes, it is. There is companies that have some of the companies like for cheeses. Some of the orders were slowed down, or some of the retailers asked for the orders to be shipped all at once instead of being broken down. Others have canceled because they didn't know, but there is movement still now. The fear was for a period that the U.S. will shut down the importation of product too, which would have been a disaster for Italy. So, there's going to be some shortage coming up in May and June of certain products.
Some delays.
Yeah. So, there's going to be some shortage. The thing is that me and Mike on the same boat. If the restaurants don't open, I can be eating prosciutto all day long. Actually, send me your address. I'll send you guys prosciutto too. So,
I'm taking you up on that, man.
Listen, unfortunately, I cannot eat pasta anymore. But I'll send you prosciutto.
I know dollar to dollar, it's not a fair trade, but I know.
You know what?
I will send you some chocolate. This is a good deal.
Listen, I used to sell Venchi at Dean and DeLuca in 1992. We were the first company to bring Venchi in the US and the Checo in the US when I worked at Dean and DeLuca. I have to say, if it wasn't for Dean and DeLuca, a lot of the products would not be here. But I'm saying I'm very positive. Listen, I feel like a runner, or when you take a little car, you pull it back, and it goes slow, and then when you release it, it just jumps.
Yeah.
There's two benefits here, and I'm grateful for that. Probably the restart will be in the beginning of the summer, which people will like to go out. Some restaurants will be able to cover because the summer is where they make most of them. Some people, that's where they make their money, and they able to. So if it goes any further than June, that's a big problem for Italian products, because then it affects the fourth quarter, which is the Christmas, especially for Umberto. It's going to, because then at that point, you better shut down everything and go home.
So now, I'm sorry, go ahead, Umberto.
No, yeah, in fact, this is the point. We just released the new catalog, which also include all the like the holidays, like the advent calendar, all those products for the fourth quarter. And the challenging things right now is going to be to get in touch with the buyer, and since we don't know when the situation is going to be over, so it will be tricky also for them, to place some order for the third and the fourth quarter, but we really don't understand what is going to happen. So we have to to have courage all together and see what happen, and keep the, first of all, the mood, I will say, very positive, and also to be very, very, I will say, active and proactive. Proactive.
But Tony, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to shut up for the rest of the day, because I would like Mike to talk a little bit more. Listen, there's a couple things that we need to watch out for. One of them is the trade shows, because, as importers, and right now, no buyers is going to meet with you, either email or they were very tough to get to, even on a daily basis. This has become impossible now to try to reach a buyer, a wholesaler, or a retailer. The first thing they say is, we have other things that we have to procure first, and then when this is done, call me or send me or whatever. Now we had a couple major shows coming up that I don't think that they're going to happen. One of them is IBDA, which is the Bakery and Deli Show, which is pretty big for the salumi and cheese in this country, because all the retailer aspect comes down and does. The National Restaurant Show is going to be postponed or canceled, which is big for the food service, especially for the broadline distributors like Cisco.
I think it's canceled.
It is canceled already?
Canceled for the year. Yeah, it's canceled for the year.
Yeah, so that is one of the biggest thing. Top foremost for us Europeans and Italians is the fancy food show, and I don't see it happening. I mean, the Chibos was postponed to September, which a lot of us are going to go to if it happens.
Even Sweet and Snack is canceled. Has been canceled.
Yeah.
What was it? What show?
Sweet and Snack in Chicago is basically a confectionery trade show.
so most of the specialty trade show are being canceled, and that's going to give us basically a difficult time in reaching out to the buyers and trying to set the sales strategies for the fourth quarter, for the following year. So we really, once this thing, that's why I made Dr. Cole today and say, oh, would you like to reschedule your appointment after this thing is done? I said, sure. But I'll tell you one thing, once this thing is done, I'm not going to be at home because I have to knock on every single door. And I think Mike is on the same boat because, if it's like a racetrack, you open the gate, you have to run. And that's only.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Mike?
No, well, that's the thing. We just got to stay positive. You got to stay proactive, stay involved with the local community, whether it's chefs. I'm lucky enough. I'm friends with a lot of chefs, a lot of business owners in the city nearby me here. So I'm pretty much in the tri-state area. That's the best we could do. I pledge with a lot of my friends and I say, hey, if you can, those of us that you can, 1 meal a day, 2 meals a week, 3 meals, whatever you can, if you could eat out, if you could order food out, support your local guys. I'm not, look, I could cook at home better than most of the people that you could buy food from. Umberto, same way. The guy's a 5-star chef, but we all try once a week, order food, support the local community, support the e-commerce,
actually, go ahead, Mike, sorry.
No, I'm saying that's all about we could do. And, I think we're all, I know Umberto does it, I follow Francesco too. We all try to be in the same kind of boat and try to just help business. It's one of us. I know it doesn't seem a lot. I know $50 somewhere or $100 somewhere might not seem a lot, but if we all do it as a community, it goes a long way, I think.
And that's where social media comes into play. Yeah. And I think it's very important because a lot of my distributors, or distributors in general, starting from New York distributors like Baldor, Chef Warehouse, Concadoro, everybody's trying to change the business model in this trying time. They're actually selling directly to consumers. My distributor in Vegas is doing the same thing. Lettieri in San Francisco, Ital Foods in San Francisco. I mean, all the big players that were not even thought of selling directly have opened the warehouses because, like Umberto said before, Christmas was around the corner. They have inventory to the kazoo, and they're trying to survive. They're not trying to make money. They're trying to survive because you know what? They know that if they stop selling or they stop the revenue flow of that, even if it's a penny, it's going to create a situation. There's companies like Chef Warehouse. I mean, probably 95% of the business is on restaurant. They have a division called Belcanto, which does retail, that's doing extremely well. But, right now, I don't think they're selling a lot of Black Angus prime beef right now. So, and that's the case with everybody else.
What were you going to say, Umberto?
So, no, I wanted to, so of course, I agree with Mike and Francesco about this support we can give from our end also to restaurant, and a funny story, but a funny moment, but very lovely, and that make us really think about the situation. I used to go to this pizzeria in Harlem. It's called the Sotto Casa, and to support them, of course, we are going once a week with the gloves, with the mask. We pick up the pizza, but since we don't want, as Francesco was saying, if you bring home the pizza, it's not the same. So we really basically go around the corner, we park our car, and we have the pizza in the car. So this is, me and my wife, we were just looking at us like, oh, wow, this is like 2020.
That's a different experience.
Yeah. So
now, this is a good question too, because now people watching this or listening or watching the podcast, is there a way for them to get your products online?
Like from our end, there is some customer that they, if you type basically Venki online, you have the Venki online e-commerce, and then other customer in the US that they sell our product. So from our end, we are pretty covered over there, even though our retail stores are closed. So
and obviously, Mike, the check goes into supermarkets, but is there a way that people could buy it online?
Yes. Sure. So our entire line is available on Amazon, and there's also other local smaller e-commerce like Yummy Bazaar that also carry the product. But pretty much everything's available through Amazon, so it's fairly easy through that for people to source product.
But well, also I guess if there are those little mom and pop shops that have it, that would be the best way to go first. Is get your stuff.
That would be the best way to do it. Is that obviously right now everyone's going e-commerce, so even your local restaurant might have an e-commerce right now that you could buy from. Another thing the restaurants are doing, which is pretty smart right now, is restaurants that are actually creating grocery markets inside their restaurant with products that they have. So
I saw
contact your local people.
I know Senso Unico in Sunnyside. He was doing that. I think also Best Pizza in Williamsburg. He was doing Frank Pinello. He was doing something, selling whatever milk and eggs.
And look, it makes sense. It makes sense. They have product. They have the room. Some of the ones that are more advanced are doing like pickup service of like grocery bags where you could say, hey, I want a gallon of milk, a pound of butter, a pack of pasta, a container of sauce, and you get kind of a meal package.
You know what's interesting about that? That almost goes back to the old grocery store, like the old true dry good grocery stores. Yeah, because when my great grandparents came over, they owned a dry goods store in Lodi, New Jersey, right down a block from where I am now. And people would, they would go there to get the beans, the pasta. I mean, but you wouldn't buy big. You would buy what you needed.
Right, you bought a pound of butter because you went every week.
Yes,
so that was the deal.
Yeah, and Francesco, can we get some of your stuff online, or how does that work?
First thing is, as a spokesman for Prosciutto di Parma, as long as they buy Prosciutto di Parma, we're fine with it. It could be any brand. We would like to support any brand. The same thing goes for Spec from Trentino Alto Adige, which I am a spokesman person for Spec. As long as you buy true Italian products and DOPs, it makes me happy. On the cheese end, we mostly are in small independent retailers, which are the ones I like to see. I like to see people go more to Faico's, Yavarone, Uncle Giuseppe, Mike's Deli, Tino's Deli. Try to support your local market, your family mom and pop more than anything else. Yes, there's great platforms on e-commerce that can bring that stuff to your house. I know I heard that though. Some of those platforms have delays 14 days, 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing I've seen like Mike say, a lot of, especially West Coast seems to be a little more proactive than the East Coast, where a lot of the restaurants switched and brought eggs, basic items or pantry, flour to the main room so people can actually shop for basic ingredients without going around or without fighting the masses. So there is alternatives out there right now. Hopefully, all of that will be gone in a couple of weeks and we'll go back to the norm, which I don't know if it's going to be a norm, but, some sort of a norm, for the tri-state area, we are covered. It's the fear is the Midwest, where people that were starting to like Italian products or be more adventurous on trying something new. That's probably is going to put us back a couple of years again. And that's going to be a lot of work on my part to go back out there and trying to retrain delis and on specs, prosciutto di Parma and cheeses and trying to understand and the value that those items bring to a retailer.
This is totally off topic, but Umberto, do you know that there's actually a Club Trentino in Ridgewood, Queens?
No, actually, no, I don't know. And I was actually about to ask Francesco then to send me some spec because being from South Tyrol, one thing that I really miss that is not actually easy to find over here is the spec. So I used to buy sometimes from Moray Cheese at Grand Central before to jump on my train. So
Moray Cheese is owned by Kroger, so you should go next door to Faico, which the Italian Americans.
Okay, I will.
Actually, Faico carries my spec. So,
but have you heard, Francesco or Mike? Have you heard of the Club Trentino? It's like a little social club of people that
I never heard. No,
they came over from Trentino, from I guess South Tyrol, and they settled in Ridgewood, Queens. And I was so looking forward to this. From January to June, they were doing a dinner series. So once a month they would have they would make some kind of specialty from their area.
Okay, so Canederly and
exactly. That was last month. So I was supposed to go to the April dinner. It was a torta di patate. And I was like,
Something-
oh, I was looking forward to it so much, so badly. And then I got the call the other day. She's like, ah, yeah, we have to like cancel it for now and move it to another date. But you should check it out. Club. It's called Club Trentino or Trentino Club. You find it on Facebook and.
I will check it out for
It's
sure,
a-
but I have to be honest, I don't want to disappoint nobody, but even though I'm from South Tyrol and speak German, I can really just cook Napoleon things.
So Umberto, your family is originally from Caserta and Napoli?
Yeah, and they moved, since my father, he was in the army, he moved to the north where
Okay.
most of the people in the army are there. And so they moved there. I grew up and I was born actually in Bolzano. Also my brothers, they were born there, but we really, first of all, we grew up in an environment of from people from the south, because most of the people, like I would say 99% of my father's colleagues in the army, they were from south, from Puglia, from Sicilia, from Calabria, and from Campania. So I really grew up being like in the south, because I was playing with other kids in the yard, speaking, hey, come facciamo, come a pallone. So it's, yeah.
But what? So Napoli, or
my father from Fuorigrotta, my mother from Casa Giove, which is behind the Regia, the castle of Caserta.
Okay, is that close to Sasarunca?
I don't know, Sasarunca.
Sasarunca is south of that. It's
Okay,
about
I know
50
there
miles south.
was a large group of people from Sasarunca that came to Hoboken, they came to Patterson.
Yeah. I think that should be a topic for the next thing, is the immigration, and how funny is that, like, New Orleans were all Sicilians from Cefalù and Palermo, and that's what really started. And then the Neapolitans in New York, and Genovese in San Francisco, and Sicilian fishermen in Monterey and San Diego. It's I think it had to do with when they used to call company men, used to go to specific areas in Italy, and they used to hire men to come and work in specific factory. That's why some of the, and they used to be always from the same area. Like, if you see Abruzzi in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there's a big community because they used to work the mines. So they used to bring them from Abruzzi, they brought them over there. In New Orleans to cut the sugar canes because the slaves were gone. So they needed new slaves, and the Sicilians were the new slaves. In San Francisco, because the boats that were coming from Genoa would stop in San Francisco. So a lot of them stopped and got off the boat there. Neapolitans in New York, because the boat from Naples, the first stop was in New York. So, that's how this was directed. Calabrians in Montreal, Abruzzese in Vancouver. There is and I'm shocked that there's a Trentino club, because I don't think people from Trentino went anywhere but Austria.
Yeah, correct, until Austria. But actually, my great grandfather, he came through Ellis Island to New York in 1906, and my grandfather, he was born in Brooklyn, and then he moved back to Naples.
Really?
So my mom didn't come through Ellis Island, but my mom did come here in 1971 on a boat. 8 days and 8 nights on a boat.
So Mike, both of your parents are from Palermo?
No, actually, my father's from Palermo. My mom has got a little bit of a weird story. She was born in a small town in Foggia called Volturino, but has a child, as like a 7-month-old. She moved a little north to Benevento, which is basically, kind of almost at the border there.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a household where my mom spoke Neapolitan and my dad spoke Sicilian, so I could speak both.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah, it was funny because when I used to live in Sicily, and my grandmother, my mom's mom, still lived here in New York, but she never learned American. She only spoke Neapolitan from Benevento, which is even weirder than harder to understand than the regular Neapolitan. And I would talk to her on the phone. I'm like, Ma, but I don't understand Nonna on the phone. She says usciko. What's usciko? My grandma would say certain words. So kind of growing up, and now, obviously I'm lucky because I get to speak 2 different dialects, which is pretty cool.
From Benevento, or outside of Benevento?
So another town outside of Benevento called San Bartolomeo in Caldo.
Oh, okay, that's
town.
That's where Rocky Marciano's family's from.
Rocky.
Right.
His mother was from there.
Yeah,
and his father was from Ripitiatina in Abruzzo. Yeah. But because my mom's mom's family, they're from a town called Guardia San Framondi in Benevento.
Oh, okay.
There's,
So
so
you
I
grew
think,
up drinking Strega too?
no, not really. No, I actually
Strega
I
is
haven't.
actually a classic there.
Is it real?
Yeah,
Oh, I never knew that.
Strega
No.
is from Benevento, yes.
Strega's from Benevento, yeah.
I grew up more with my Sicilian and my my
Wow.
Monte San Giacomo family.
Well,
More,
I'll tell you my claim to glory. I come from Palermo, the city I was born.
Palermo.
Born and raised in Palermo. But my mother is from a town called Isola delle Femmine, which is next to it. And my father is from Mazza del Vallo, which is another beautiful town in Sicily. My mother grandfather is first cousin with Joe DiMaggio, the father.
Oh,
Really?
Because Joe DiMaggio family came from Sicily and they went to work the boats and the fishing in Monterey, California, and in Pittsburgh, California. So my claim to fame is I'm a half a cousin of Joe DiMaggio, but I met him once, but I don't think he really claimed to. But because his grandmother's name was Virga and my grandfather's name is Virga, and the town has only 350 people. So
you gotta be related. Well, guys, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you guys taking time out to come on the show and to talk about food and about the positivity of what will happen. Because it will, like you said, it will bounce back. And it will take time, but God willing, it will come back and hopefully stronger than before.
Tony, we've been there for 2,000 years. Prosciutto's been made for 2,000 years. Pasta's been made for 1,200 years. You know what? We have dips and peaks and lows. This is we're gonna go forward. We're gonna do great.
Yeah, amen. But guys, I would love to have. I mean, once this quarantine is over,
We should go to the Trentino Club.
Yeah, definitely.
look, we have to be positive. The other day I want to just close this saying this. The other day I was doing a Instagram live cooking class of chocolate with one of my customers from New Jersey, Farinolio Bakery, is a Tuscan bakery.
I know Farinolio.
Francesco, we were doing like we were doing like a gianduia shot and stuff like that. So I closed the live saying, guys, now it's time to stay home, to don't spread the virus, but spread the chocolate. We have a spread chocolate. So.
Spread chocolate. It's the Italian way.
Yeah. Or spread pasta is the Brooklyn way. We could say that too. Look, in closing statement, Tony, first of all, thank you for having us on. I think this is great. One, to kind of get our mind off of what we've been doing. Two, having a face-to-face with people, which is great. We especially us, everyone here, we're used to being out. We're used to being around with people. We're used to talking. We're used to always being in contact. So this is something really good. We need to spread positivity. We need to help. Everyone needs to help each other, whether it's through.
Mike,
it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be money.
Mike, anything you come across, or anybody comes across, just spread it out to everybody else, because you know what? My segment is totally different than your segment, your food service segment. My segment is mostly hipster chefs, American chefs. It's a little different, and actually it will be great to cross any effort that we can, in order to support our industry in going forward and with this situation.
Yeah,
right.
Sounds good, and it will be done. It's been great to talk to you guys. Umberto, you're the best. Francesco, it's good seeing you.
It's a good seeing you, man.
Tony, thank you for putting this together. Any other time you need me, you know where to find me.
I appreciate
Same here.
And like I said, once this like I said, once it's all over, I do a regular podcast, which is a little bit more formal, and we actually go to the places, we visit the people. So maybe we could do something in the future. And now we're all friends on Facebook, so we'll work something out. So guys, again, God bless you. Stay safe.
Stay safe. And
we'll
stay indoors.
Ciao.
Yeah.
Ciao,
guys.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.